Hello and welcome to another Midweek Message. It's Monday morning, 10 degrees C, 50 Fahrenheit, 82% humidity, 1009 millibars on the old barometer. Now, here's the thing. All weekend, weather warnings, danger, danger, Will Robinson, gale force winds, torrential rain, damage to buildings, all this sort of stuff going on. Everyone's preparing for it. People putting garden furniture away and sorting out stuff, making sure their fence panels are secure. What happened? Down here on the south coast at least. Nothing. A little bit of wind, bit of rain. That was it. We've tied stuff down outside and done all sorts of things and nothing happened. Would you believe it? I have heard though, was it this morning I heard on the telly in Ireland, 50,000 homes without power. It always hits Ireland first. I think it comes in from the Atlantic and gives Ireland a good bashing. And then, of course, by the time it comes up the channel to us, it's petered out. Why is it petered out? Why not Michael'd out or Fredded out? I have no idea. I'm talking rubbish again. Let's move on. If you remember last week's midweek message, Susan said she'd like the midweek message to be longer. Well, several of you have since mentioned that. Now, the difficulty is I can't rabbit for an hour every Wednesday, then an hour every Sunday, because it will get boring. I don't want to rant for the sake of ranting or ramble for the sake of rambling, but I will make an effort to make the midweek messages a little bit longer. As from today, I know that a few of you liked my so-called outside broadcasts. I mean, they weren't broadcasts, outside recordings really. So we're off to the wetlands at Arundel at some stage. And of course, Amberley Museum. I'll be going into the woods, be going down to the beach. So I will make one or two live recordings because, as several of you have said, it's quite interesting. Even though there's no video, you can't see what I'm talking about. In fact, there have been radio programmes, haven't there, on Radio 4, BBC Radio 4, what used to be the Home Service in the good old days. Nature programmes, people walking through the woods and describing whatever they see. So it does seem to be popular, even though you can't see what's happening as you can, obviously, with a video. In fact, a message from an email from Ron. Hello, Ron, up there in, where are you? Oh, North Wales. Nice to hear from you. As Ron says, outside broadcasts, you can use your imagination. I'm describing what I can see and you're picturing it in your mind. So, right, enough rambling about that. And I'm not doing that until the weather warms up. I think we're going to the wetlands at Arundel, I think in the middle of February or early February. So I will tell you all about the flying geese and all the birds there, and it's lovely when the geese actually fly over the wetlands because they're really loud. They sort of squeak, but they don't squeak, do they? What do gooses make? Gooses. What are geese? What's it called when they quack? They don't quack, that's ducks. Anyway, you'll hear all that once the weather warms up a little bit, hopefully in February. An outside type broadcast or recording you will not like is Butlins. We are going there. Oh, it's a matter of, is it a week now? It's a matter of a few days away. Think of me listening to that dreadful noise and with all those people. Oh dear. I won't record that. That would put you off the podcast episodes, I think, for life. You'll never come back again. I was talking to a friend of mine on the radio yesterday. He lives up in Huddersfield. And we're having a chat on the radio, as we often do. And he lives he says in the woods. It's not quite, it's on the edge of the woods. And I was telling him about Butlins. And I said I would rather spend the evening in the woods listening to wildlife. And he said that he often does that. Even in this cold weather, he wanders through the woods and he just sits there. He takes a little, what is those shooting stick, isn't it? And he sits on his shooting stick, you know, those walking sticks that open out on the top. He sits there in the woods, in the dark, just listening to the wildlife. Now, Butlins or in the woods in the dark? You know which one I'd choose, don't you? Brian, nice to hear from you. Last Sunday, was it, or Wednesday, I mentioned the ECHR, and I called it the European Court of Human Rights. It's the European Convention. Thank you for correcting me, Brian. European Convention of Human Rights. Ray, nice to hear from you. Do you remember the Flatley clothes dryer? He says, I do. Who remembers the flatly clothes dryer? It was a big square thing. You take the lid off and there's wooden slats inside where you hang things in the old days, such as terry nappies. Who remembers terry nappies? And you plug it in and it had a heater in the bottom and it would dry them. I had one in my bedroom and it was really nice. It kept me warm. And if I was really cold, I'd put the lid on it and sit on it to keep warm. I do remember those, Ray. They were fantastic. Completely off topic. Not that there is a topic to get completely off. We saw the other day in the garden, we thought it was a huge thrush. It wasn't. It was a fieldfare. Who's heard of the fieldfare bird? It's like a big thrush. I think it's a member of the thrush family. But that was amazing. We're always looking out for birds in the garden. We've got feeders everywhere. First time we've seen one of those. Where do people listen to the podcast episodes? Nice to hear from you, Bob, over there across the pond in Washington. Bob listens with headphones while he's on the farm, driving the tractor or doing farm jobs. Brilliant. I'd love to live on a farm. Imagine that. No neighbours. You could blast your music out. I could put big aerials up everywhere and no one would mind. Mind you, I've got brilliant neighbours here. I've got aerials up everywhere and they don't mind at all. Ian, lovely to hear from you down in Australia. Is it down? It's not. There is no down or up, is there really? Remember my grandfather saying there's no such thing as down or up when I was a child. Ray, no, not Ray, this is Ian. I'm Ray. Old age kicking in again. Ian says that I mentioned Alistair Cook and the letter from America. My neck just cracked then, did you hear it? He says, how about, do you remember I mentioned doing a sort of letter from England? I could do a letter from England podcast to the Americans. Well, he says it's a good idea. That is a thought, isn't it, Ian? But the trouble is I'd have to do yet another podcast every week, letter from England. But I would like to do that, actually. That would be interesting. Maybe that's something I shall put in my things to do list. Great to hear from you, Ian. Thanks. Perhaps I'll give the BBC a ring in a minute. Would you like me to do letter from England? They'd say no, clear off. I don't know. Ray, heard from Ray again. Shock horror, he says. Storm Aisha. Is it Aisha or Isha? Isha, I don't know what it is. Yeah, as Ray says here, they talk about 80 to 90 mile an hour storm, gales, winds, and goodness knows what. It's all so dramatic. And then a lot of the country, nothing happens. Admittedly, a lot of people have had dreadful experience with these storms. But I don't know what it is. It's a chap in Horsham contacted me. Horsham's up the road from me. They're okay. Chap I talked on the radio in Huddersfield, he said nothing happened there. So I really don't know what it's all about. Right, I must check my notes. Look at it, 8 minutes. There you are, Susan. You wanted a longer podcast episode, and you've got one. As it's only Monday, look at that blue sky. It's lovely now. Still a bit of a breeze from the west. Blue sky, sunshine. Must be 12 degrees out there now. What I'll do, as it's only Monday, this isn't going on till Wednesday, I might add a bit more tomorrow. If anything dramatic happens, like the sun comes out yet again, twice in 1 week. Well, nothing like that dramatic happened. It's now Tuesday, 6 a.m. How about that? It's dark. The flag is blowing from the west. 5 degrees centigrade, which is 41 Fahrenheit, 99% humidity. So we're not quite underwater. We've got 1% left. 1025 millibars on the barometer. We've been warned about Storm Jocelyn coming in, and apparently that's now cancelled. I just heard. So I don't know. Jocelyn might be coming in, it might not. Just going back to Alistair Cook and letter from America, I thought I'd listen to a few. The BBC have them online. There's a problem. You have to sign in. I mean, what is the point of signing in? You just want to go to the BBC place to listen to 1 or 2 podcasts, and you have to sign in. And if you're not a member or whatever, you've got to join up. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I don't know what's wrong with the BBC. I have some notes here, but I think as we're coming up to 10 minutes, I'll save these for next Sunday's podcast. Everyone talking at once on the news, on the TV. Doesn't it get you? It really does. People apparently, is it Good Morning Britain, GBM or something? Viewers turned off or switched over to another channel because there was some ranting going on, people shouting over each other. Do you know anyone that won't walk anywhere, even if they're going down the road to the letterbox? They take the car. We'll talk about that possibly on Sunday and whatever else might crop up. Ray's Rants at protonmail.com. Be great to hear from you if you have any ideas. In the meantime, you know what I'm going to say. Do whatever you want to do, whether I do it or not. Have fun, enjoy your life, stay healthy. That's the main thing. The evenings and mornings are becoming a little bit lighter. Right, that's it. It's over 10 minutes now. You've had your money's worth. Had your money's worth. The podcasts are free. Behave yourselves. See you on Sunday. Bye-bye for now.